for that abatement information. Other people that may find this data informative would be real estate appraisers, um, things of that sort. So those are two of the tools that will be accessible on the website. Now I'm going to turn it over to Nick Misevich, who's going to talk about the AP5 upgrade. Nick?
All right, thank you, Director Kleiner, Madam President, members of the Board of Aldermen, members of the Board of Assessing. All right, so when we started this project, I had to become familiar with both the new system, which we refer to as AP5, and the existing system that the assessing department has been using for several years, which we refer to as Classic. So right off the bat, AP5 has a much improved user interface over the classic CAMA system. It's easier and more friendly to use, uh, and it's also gives a full screen view of the system as opposed to a tiny window as in classic. So our staff can see more information at one time. There are multiple ways to search for information, which I have a slide that I will show later on what this entails. It also has autofill drop downs. So as soon as you type information that you're searching for, the drop down will automatically find anything that matches that. So again, a lot easier and quicker to find information. We can open any section in the and have multiple sections pinned for quick display. So instead of toggling back and forth as we had to do in the old system, it's all right there, right in front on the main screen for our staff to click through and get to whatever they use most often. Info for past years is quickly accessible without having to switch to a different database. Again, with AP5, everything is in a single database, all past years. In Classic, each year had its own database. So we are much better off with AP5 as the assessing department can quickly go back to historic information if they are researching any sort of issue that arises. And with that, the new system also has the ability to change the color scheme for what they're looking at, the user interface. So it gives attention, it brings the attention of they're in a different year if they're not in the current year. So they know right away if they are where they need to be. It has improved filter capability. The filter function in the old system was not that great. The new one is much more powerful and it's very easy to use. It's based on what they call SQL queries, which is the database that the city uses and this application is hooked into. There's also new tools such as lookup grid, which again, very powerful, can look up a lot of data with a very few clicks. And the staff is really excited about that feature. They use it quite a bit. Historic images and sketches are preserved for previous years. In AP5, this is all in the database. It's not separate files like the old system. So you can have an image and sketch for a particular property for 2018, and then you can have a new sketch and an image for 2019. And the database keeps track of all that information. So as staff looks back, they can see the gradual changes all in the same system. And also we can hide closed accounts using a simple checkbox. That's important. So we don't necessarily need to be reporting on accounts that have been closed, but it's good to have that historic information at the tip of your fingers. All right, Kim, can you? All right, so here's the a screenshot, and yes, you'll see my name. I am a citizen of the city of Nashua, and I consent to have my information displayed, so we don't run into any problems. All right, so the year toggle, that's where you would switch back for the current year versus previous years, as well as going forward. We could also program information for a future year, which will be very helpful because then, like at the end of the year at tax season, ordinarily the staff would have to wait until the tax process has been completed. With AP5, they don't have to wait. We can set the new year and they can start entering information for the future. Uh, the hide closed accounts is just a simple checkbox, whether they're displayed or not. And in the purple, this is what I was referring to as multiple ways you can search for information. The account number, parcel ID, the street, or the owner. And the, okay, I'm sorry, Kim. Nope, too far.
Okay.
Okay, go back. You're going forward. There we go. All right, here is a screenshot of a couple examples of the sections that can be pinned, and it's based on whatever staff is working on the most. So on the top, you have the account detail, you have the building section, land section, and special features and yard items. Another person could have the exemptions, appeals, permits, and the owners, or the sky's the limit. However, whatever information that they use most, they can have pinned. And if they don't have it, they're not using it at any one time, they can simply close that and then reselect it, which is on a menu which was not included in the slide, unfortunately. All right, Kim. All right, here is the filter function. We can select just about any field in the database. As you see on the left-hand side, those are the different tables. We simply expand them to get to the fields. We create the expression, put in a value that we are looking for, such as, I want all building permits that were created for 2020. I build that query and hit the query button, and it gives that results in the filter result on the bottom right hand side. What assessing can do next is save that filter, and the system will navigate through just those parcels or accounts that meet that criteria. So they don't have to go keep searching for it over and over again. It'll be right there for them. They can just scroll through everything. Another nice feature with AP5 is everything's exportable to Excel. So they do a filter on something and they can quickly export that information to an Excel spreadsheet. All right, Kim. Along with the upgrade comes enhanced security. It's now integrated with the city's Windows accounts, so no additional password for users to remember. This is referred to as single sign-on. So it's great for IT, so we can quickly manage who has access to the system. So if as people come on or as people leave the city, we can quickly take care of that within our normal duties. We do not have to go and remember to take care of some other authentication mechanism. Permissions are now based on roles instead of individuals for easier maintenance. So example, like the clerks will have certain permissions that they're allowed to do. The assessors will have certain permissions that they're allowed to do. We can do it by read only. We can control who can create. We can control who can modify, and we can control who can delete any record in the system. There's an increased granularity. We can do the permissions down to a field. We don't have to do a specific form or table as was the previous system. We can go down to the field level, which is very nice and makes life much easier for IT because that's less stuff that we have to fix in case someone does something that they shouldn't do. We have the ability to make a field required before a save can be made. So this is good as we rewrite the procedures. So there's certain information that we want to capture, and it forces whoever's entering that information to add that particular info. So again, we have it tracked for historic purposes. Anything that is changed in the system is now audited, so we can see what fields were changed by who and when. And previous years are easily locked down to prevent changes being made. For example, as soon as we prepare the system for December tax bills, uh, we put that year in read-only status, so no one can make any changes. Again, we can keep the future year open to create additional changes. So it keeps them working. We don't have the time lapse that we had with the classic version. And finally, where we're currently stand with the integration. We conducted dual entry in the old and new systems for 3 months to verify functionality. This gave the staff time to become familiar with the new system, where things were located. It gave us the ability to make sure that the new system's calculating things the same way that were being done in the old system. This has been the AP5 has been integrated with the city's new building permit application, Civic Gov. So the two systems are passing data back and forth. As new accounts are created, they get passed up to Civic Gov. As permits are created by the building department, they come into AssessPro. Also been integrated with the city's GIS system. So the multiple maps that we have online, it is feeding information out to that on a daily basis. So that information is updated daily. So citizen can go to any one of our GIS maps that contain information, assessing information, and see the current information. It's also been integrated with the city's tax collection system, Munis. So we can process the information and send it to the tax department, and they can upload it for the tax billing cycle. Importantly, we removed the dependency on admins for the exemptions and credits process. And the final dependency on admins for the abatement process will be converted by the end of this month. We are in the process of just verifying that, well, actually not verifying, creating the same type of file that Munis needs for the abatements. We are also implementing mobile tablets for field entry or for data entry in the field. This will be completed by end of July, which will allow the assessors to make changes right in the field. So as they go out on an inspection, they don't have to write on a piece of paper and bring it back. They make the changes right in the system, and it's live. So as soon as they make that change, it's there for the rest of the team to act on it. The MS1 report that we file with the state matches that of the old system for December 2019 and the July 2020 tax bills. This was important because we needed to make sure we are providing the same information out of both systems. We are also working with Patriot to develop a custom property record card that is easy to read for both citizens and assessors. This is also planned to be done by the end of July. There's information on their base card that the city does not use, so it's pointless to have it display. We want to have the information displayed that is important for us and our citizens. We are also upgrading the over-the-counter application that citizens use to look up current information when they come into City Hall. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to scroll down here. Wrong slide. Okay, there we go. And this will be completed by the end of August. So it's going to be a snap in to the new system. very different from how the old system is. It's going to be the same look and feel as staff has, and with the ability to look up the information as was done in the past. All right, Kim, that's all that I have.
Thank you, Nick. So this was a really large project, and one that we could not have gotten completed without Nick's help, without that of IT. There was a lot of testing. It went a little longer than we thought, but I have to say that we had to be sure. There was no room for error here. So there was a lot of testing by a lot of different assessors and IT, and we thank them for that. And I'm gonna move a little quicker because I know you have a full board of aldermen meeting to get to. Important to note, tomorrow night at finance meeting, you will see a contract in front of you for a consultant, an assessing supervisor that we hope the finance committee will pass. Rex Norman is not unknown to the city. He worked for us years ago and served on our board of assessors and has been the chief assessor for Wyndham for a number of years. And we believe that while we are still looking for a chief assessor, that search has not stopped, that Mr. Norman will provide us with great technical advice. Also, there were, COVID set everyone back a little and some changes needed to be made for COVID. So we had some temporary policies that needed to be implemented for abatements and building permits, and those were approved by our board. As Nick noted, we're still working on the tablets, and we're going to have our first instructional use with our assessors this Friday. And then again, tomorrow night at finance, you're going to see a contract with Inception Technologies. This is for the scanning of all of our property record files. One thing that we found during the COVID working remote experience was that our assessors really needed access to these files. So we're looking at using DocuWare software to make these records easily accessible to our staff remotely. So while they're on those tablets and they're working directly on the camera system, they can also pull up a full property record file and have that information in front of them. Important to note, and everyone's always seems very interested in the number of abatements that we receive. So for 2019, you're going to see a drop. We had 164 versus the 393 from 2018, which was an update year. I take this as an indication, and that is one that we're happy to see when those abatements go down. Moving forward, it's been asked a lot. So what do our assessors do during a full revaluation? No, we don't get time off. Their workload does not actually decrease. Our assessors have a lot of required training for their certification, which we have been holding off on because of the AP5 upgrade. We needed all staff in. We had a number of changes, as you can see, from September's update to this one. So they need to get out there and get that required certification. We have professional development that we have lined up, both with the NHAAO and then some with the IAAO. Some of our assessors are interested in taking some appraisal courses. And we strongly advise our assessors to have more professional development and education, as we do all our staff. We have building modifications coming up, building of a new customer service area, including ADA access. We're going to get some more of that Power BI that we talked about earlier. We're all going to learn that and become experts. And we're going to deal with the full revaluation. We have to monitor the project. We have to meet with them. We have to provide property record cards, weekly building permits, attend weekly meetings. The assessors work with vision every day of the project. And then we have to build our cyclical inspection process. We have to develop that so that when the full revaluation ends, we have a process of how we are going to ensure that all of our properties are inspected over a period of time. One of the goals, one of the strong goals from Cornell Consultants that needs to take place at the end of this reval. So, Madam President, I'm sorry we were a little long, but I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Director Kleiner. Does anyone on the board have questions for Director Kleiner?
I do.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. It's actually not a question. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the update from the staff, the open and transparency of everything. I think that you're doing a fabulous job. You've answered all of my questions. I don't need to ask you anything because you've covered it all. Thank you very much for your dedicated service to our city. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have several questions.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. You know, I had like several items that I wasn't familiar with, and at this point, it took a lot longer than I expected. And I don't know what to focus on, or for instance, you mentioned that GIS has been assisting EOC during the COVID, and I'm not sure what EOC is.
The Emergency Operations Center.
Okay. And the 92 refusals, what were they refusing? It was mentioned that there were 92 refusals, which was really good.
Yes. So when Vision data collectors approach the door, it's their practice to knock. They step back 6 feet. They inform the resident that they will be measuring the outside of the property and that they will be taking some photographs that will be included on our property record card. Those 92 residents chose not to have the data collectors measure their property. They refused.
Well, that was just, can I follow up? I have, Madam Chairman,
Alderman Lou.
okay. So that was just to measure the exterior. So in the case that happens, I know that in the past it was discussed that at last resort, we'd have to have, I don't know, it's a legal warrant or something. So we can't just measure that without their permission, huh? And that would require a warrant or of some type.
So even since those residents chose not to let the assessors measure at that time, all residents will receive a letter asking for an interior inspection or for an exterior inspection also if it wasn't completed later on in the process. So we will make another attempt. You know, could it have been that was a bad time, really a bad time for that resident? There's many different reasons. But we will circle back and we will make another attempt to complete that inspection.
Okay, thank you. Other questions I wondered is the Cornell report, is that, my recollection is that Dave Cornell was originally contracted to write a management dashboard reporting system. Did his contract change after December of 2019 to include the report?
I'm sorry. So actually, Cornell Consulting was first worked on the assessment back last fall. And he worked with both the assessing and the legal department at that point for the audit. The Power BI contract was later in February, March timeframe, that he was brought in and contracted with to do the Power BI dashboard. Two different.
Okay, so the Power BI dashboards are currently up and running?
They are in final draft mode now. They are working, Mr. Cornell is working with our IT department so that we can get the public dashboards loaded to our website. And we are making some changes and final specifications to the internal tools.
But the internal tools are being used now?
No, we're making some final changes to them, but they're very close.
Okay, I'm just trying to, there are a lot of different softwares that have been described. And I know that you started out with about 10 softwares, different software systems, and we've just seen a presentation of several more. So I remember that the audit report, the management audit report, recommended that there were so many systems that it was hard to coordinate them. And I'm trying to understand why just more systems are being created. But I suppose it's because they just weren't adequate.
No, that's a very good question. So actually we moved away from a number of old antiquated systems, like for instance, the admin system. We moved away from the reliance on those systems. The Assess Pro Classic CAMA system was upgraded to the AP5. And the only tool that was brought in was the Power BI dashboards, which didn't exist, but those are tied to the CAMA system. Those are extracting data from the CAMA system. Other tools, like what we talked about with the GIS viewer, those are just being upgraded. They're being developed and improved. They're not additional tools.
Okay, but that BI system, is that a created system, or is that a turnkey system that we just purchased? Is that something that was developed for us?
That is something that was developed, yes.
One of the questions that was mentioned in there, I guess what I'm a little confused about is that back in June of 2007, I think you're saying that AP Access Pro 5 still isn't functional, correct?
No, that it is functional.
Oh, we're using that system?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, I thought we were still working on it. I'm also concerned about the, about the customer service messages that we've gotten. And I'd like to know how customer complaints in assessing are tracked.
How they're tracked? Well, so generally, they may be reported to either the admin supervisor or to myself. I'm happy to say I haven't had all that many that have to be tracked. We address the issue in our weekly meetings, and we make improvement along the way. But honestly, some of the complaints that I received early on were more of tools, like I mentioned with the development of the comparable sales tool. We had some complaints by residents on that tool not being user-friendly, and we're updating that for them. But other than we address them head on when we receive any complaint.
Okay, so that was one of the questions in the, that was one of the items that was discussed in the audit last year. So I wondered if a system or a procedure had been established around that. But it sounds, and I'll just limit my questions to one other. Why do you think we're having trouble hiring a chief assessor? I mean, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. It is not from lack of interviewing. It is not from lack of marketing. So if you look throughout the field, there could be any number of reasons. Chief assessors are not in abundance. The assessing field itself, it's difficult to locate people going into the practice. Quite often you'll hear assessors say it's not something that they said at 5 years old, I want to grow up and be an assessor. So I think there's a shortage in the state, and that certainly lends to it. But I think there are other concerns that certainly have been voiced to me by people in the field.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
President Wilshire, you're muted. And I have a question.
Alderman Clay.
Thank you. Actually, it's not so much a question. I just wanted to comment that the inspectors, I think I was one of the first homes that the inspector came through to measure the property, and we actually invited him into our backyard if he had wanted to do so. He said he didn't need to do it because he could do it by electronic measuring, electronic means. It was completely non-invasive. It was very quick in and out. I've seen him through the neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, we ran into him as we were walking the dogs. I think it was on Sunday or Monday, right on Manchester Street. So between Ward 3 and I think he was popping over to a house in Ward 2 also. So it's completely unintrusive, non-invasive, and it's easy for the homeowner. That's for certain. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kleiner. Thank you, Mr. Mercevich. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that the July 14, 2020 special meeting of the Board of Aldermen be adjourned by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. We are adjourned from our special board meeting at 8:05 p.m. And I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order. July 14th, 2020 at 8:05 p.m. via teleconference. Prayer will be offered by City Clerk Sue Lovering, and Alderman Jettie will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As president of the Board of Aldermen, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. Meeting ID is 845-4368. 2139, and the password is 590998. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. B, providing notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at nashua.nh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Public Health Department. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone with the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
I am present. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone.
Alderman Clee,
I am here. I can hear the proceedings. I am alone. And again, I am here for social distancing.
Alderwoman Kelly,
I'm here. I'm alone. I can hear everyone. And I am home per the governor's order.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes, I am present and I'm here alone and I'm practicing social distancing in accordance with the governor's order.
Alderman Karen,
I am here. I am alone. I can hear everyone, and I am practicing social distancing.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes, I am here. I am by myself. I can hear everyone, and I am staying home per the governor's order.
Alderman Lopez,
I can hear everybody. I am here alone and I'm staying home per social distancing guidelines.
Alderman Tenza.
I am here. I'm in the room alone, and I can hear everybody, and I am staying home per the social distancing guidelines.
Alderwoman Lou.
I'm here by myself and I can hear you.
Alderman Jettie.
I'm here at home with my wife. I can hear everyone and I am staying safer at home.
Alderman Schmidt.
I am present and I can hear the proceedings and I too am alone.
Alderman Laws.
I'm here. I can hear you. I'm alone and I'm social distancing.
Alderman Cleaver.
I'm here and I'm alone and I'm practicing social distancing.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I am present. I can hear you. I am alone and I'm practicing social distancing.
Alderman Wilshire.
I'm here. I'm home alone and I am practicing social distancing.
You have 15 in attendance.
Thank you. Also joining us this evening is Mayor Donchis and Corporation Counsel Steve Bolton. Does the mayor wish to address the board?
Yes, Madam President. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, I have a few items I wanted to mention to the board. First, a very sad note for Shay Patno, a young student of Nashua who was drowned over the weekend. Very sad situation. It happened down in Massachusetts at a pond. And following his very unfortunate passing, there was a rally or a vigil for him where people expressed their great sorrow, and many people from his fellow students and teachers and community members showed up to express their solidarity with the family. And I just wanted to give the city's regrets regarding his very unfortunate passing. Next, Madam President, I thought I needed to mention that the assessing presentation you just heard shows how remarkable the improvements that have been made over the last year really are. Many people have contributed to that, certainly the entire assessing staff. Ms. Kleiner, Director of Administrative Services, Nick Misevich, who's heading the IT, much of the IT work where many of the improvements are being made. And I think when we first embarked upon the improvements to the assessing department, when we'd only done the management audit, Madam President, and many of us were here then. I don't think we could imagine that this many improvements, this many tools could have been developed to improve access, to improve transparency, to improve public input or ability to gain access into assessing records. So I want to congratulate them on all the good work that they've done. Next, Madam President, I really need to mention what I'm going to call the Diana Ploss incident, which is the racist rant which Diana Ploss, a former talk show host, went on late last week. It was, of course, displayed first on her own page, which is incredible, and then was circulated around the internet, Facebook, and everywhere else. Ms. Ploss is not a resident of the city. In no way does she represent Nashua. The Nashua, as we all know, is a welcoming community, one that's very inclusive, a community in which everyone belongs. We value all of our residents, and I am very proud of the way that the people of Nashua reacted to the Ploss tape or when they saw this post, this video. I'm very proud of the way Nashua people reacted because they were very negative, and many people contacted the station and commented to the point where the station almost immediately terminated her involvement with them. Now, she was a person who paid to go on the radio, but fortunately they have terminated their relationship, and she will not be broadcasting at SMN in Nashua anymore. But I think it's an incident that certainly was very unfortunate, but shows the true character of our community. Next, Madam President, the trees that were put up through a partnership between Michael Buckley, the owner of 2 of our restaurants, and the Morin Landscaping are really remarkable and incredible. The effect that they've had on that section of Main Street, and if anybody has not seen them yet, you definitely have to check it out. There are trees and then some shrubs, numerous plantings in front of MTs and in front of Surf now. It's been an incredible experience just to witness this, and the positive comment around this experiment has been just overwhelming. So in addition to the very high degree of approval for the downtown, the expansion of the outdoor dining, this has just even gone further, and people are extremely enthusiastic about what the Buckley and Morin partnership have accomplished. So I want to congratulate and thank them for showing us what's truly possible. Next, Madam President, I see that using the IT department, that we're now on Zoom here with the Board of Aldermen and are able to accept public comment during the meeting. Now that technological step has been taken, I intend to implement the same change at the Board of Public Works, where I'm the chair, so that starting at the next meeting, we will be using the same technology that you were able to, and we will be able to take public comment with, of course, certain reasonable limitations, but that will begin in the near future. Madam President, there was a decision which I think you all saw regarding the mask ordinance that we enacted, requiring the safety measure for the public and for everyone, that people, when in a indoor public facility, wear masks. We see how we are fortunate to be here in Nashua, where the number of cases has been contained, about 700 cases. Unfortunately, 40 people have died, but the implications, the number of cases, the severity of cases could have been far worse, as we see in some of the cities around us. And Bobby Bagley and Public Health, many, many others have done a fantastic job in working with all of the patients who have tested positive, those who aren't in the hospital, tracing the contacts that each of those patients has had over a period of before contracting or before exhibiting the symptoms of COVID-19. And as a result, we've been able to contain the virus, and I think I know that's what people are wanting us to do, to follow the science. The masks have helped. We see down in Florida, Arizona, and Texas what happens if you do not exercise caution. An explosion of cases as the first wave reemerges. So I want to thank everyone who has contributed to that effort. And the decision upheld so far the city's mask ordinance with the rather colorful language, and it was a longer decision, but as anyone not living in a cave for the last few months would know, the state, the country, and the entire world are in the midst of a once-in-a-century pandemic event. And that's from Judge Colburn over at the Superior Court. Next, and I'm almost ready to conclude, Madam President, we have a need for ballot inspectors for the September election. I believe you'll see a resolution on your desk for first reading and hopefully second reading and approval tonight, which would enable City Clerk to hire additional ballot inspectors to staff the polls on the September primary. This is something that is needed. We believe we can probably get reimbursed through the so-called gopher funds. If we can't, City Clerk Lovering does have the funds in her budget, so we could cover it with local money, but we really need to make sure there are enough people in the polls to handle the people who do come in, to keep the social distancing, and to maintain the polling places in as safe a manner as possible. But of course, we're encouraging people to cast their votes by absentee, which state law has authorized for these next two elections. In any event, Madam President, I think I'm going to conclude, and just if there are any questions, of course, I'll be willing to answer them, but thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone have any responses to the remarks of the mayor? Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the mayor for his comments, particularly regarding Ms. Ploss's episode. That was very disconcerting to people downtown. I received a lot of public comment about it, specifically because of it taking place in Ward 4. And this is not a time for that. Like we need to be pulling together and supporting downtown businesses, and we need to be engaging in whatever creative partnerships we can to help those businesses survive. And I think what should have been a slam dunk celebration of we're putting trees downtown. Like that's one of the most regular comments I hear is that people miss the trees, and it's better having a greener space. Having a private business partner with another one to kind of work out how to make a space a little bit more livable for Nashua residents who are there to support restaurants and be part of the downtown in a safe way, but are ultimately really forced to have their meal in 90-degree weather, in the middle of a street is difficult. So the attention that Michael Buckley's businesses have paid to that, I think is very commendable in terms of how to best adapt to the situation we're in a creative manner. And Morin's partnership, there's a lot to celebrate there. It's just unfortunate that somebody could only see that negative part. I don't think there's any call to be harassing a bunch of people who are working really hard in 90-degree weather to try to make our city, look a little bit nicer, whether or not it's for a private business or whatever. The effort they were putting in was real. No one needs to be harassed on their job. And that was all very uncalled for. So I likewise want to commend the Nashua community for rallying around the people who really deserved the support. But I think we can all take that as a caution that racism is never really that far away. And I also wanted to specifically point out the individual who came over, who was having lunch and came over to intervene on behalf of the people that were just being berated, because he was articulate, he was intelligent, he was not escalating. And I appreciate that the courage that it must have taken to do that, as well as that of the citizen who did not let the video go removed or deleted, because despite Ms. Ploss's statements that she's not backing down and she stands by her word and all that, she did. She tried to pull down her comments after she realized she was getting the wrong backlash and it wasn't exactly what she was looking for. And concerned citizens made sure that truth did not die in darkness. So I appreciate the efforts that everybody put into it. I appreciate the responsibility that the radio station took. And I really appreciate the individual was wearing a mask, because I don't want to see Nashua's businesses and all of the efforts people have been put in start to get reversed as it is in the rest of the country. I think we're very, very fortunate that we've had such a dedicated and committed population wearing their masks and thinking of each other and working collectively to combat this virus. And I don't want to see that trend get reversed. So I'm very appreciative of how he handled that and of your attention to that situation as well. So thank you.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, President Wilshire. I want to echo what Alderman Lopez said. I was going to wait till the end to say this, but when that happened and kind of blew up, I actually had two constituents call me and ask me if the program, What Would You Do, had come to Nashua. It's a program that sets up these very uncomfortable situations to see how people react to it. And I told them no, that this was a real life situation of something that somebody had done. And I agree with what Alderman Lopez said, that there were two very brave people. One that stood up in a very articulate way and spoke to her as to why are you doing this. This was not the first. I've spoken to some businesses down there, and this is not the first time she did it, apparently. She did something quite similar to the ranting and raving when we put in the Jersey barrios, referring to us as a city in a very negative manner. I don't believe she videoed it at that time, but I'm proud of Nashua. I'm proud of our citizens, and I think we did the right thing, and I'm glad WSMN did what they did. And I want to echo again what Alderman Lopez said about the combination of working with Mr. Moran and Mr. Buckley to actually beautify Nashua. And anybody inside or outside that could not see that has their own issues. And but thank you.
Alderman Tenza.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to echo the mayor's comments about Shay Patno, express my condolences to his family and friends at a difficult time. I can't imagine also having to deal with the loss of a would seem like an exceptional young man. So hopefully they're doing okay. I also wanted to congratulate WSMN on their response. Certainly, local media is important. They are, George Russell and Bob Bardis know what the city is willing to tolerate, and I think very clear that people in the city are not willing to tolerate that kind of behavior towards other folks who are working hard. And like the mayor said, we are an inclusive city, and we won't stand for that. They have also congratulate them and on their switch over to FM as well. So please check them out whenever you can. And then finally, I had a chance to speak with Clerk Lovering this week regarding the ballot inspectors. I think it's important for people to know that we believe that the state will be providing the personal protective equipment that'll be necessary for people to stay safe if you sign up to be a ballot inspector, including things like sneeze guards, masks, gloves. There will be processes in place so that if you're working the polls, you are protected as much as you can be coming into contact with folks. I think it's really important that we reach out and some of the younger members in our community come and work the polls both in September and November so that we can make sure that the elections run as smoothly as possible and that we deliver the smooth and consistent election results that we're accustomed to here in Nashua under the previous clerks and the current clerk. So thank you.
Anyone else? Response to the remarks of the mayor?
Yeah, it's Alderman Wilshire.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes, two things. I'm glad that we were one of the first places to lead the way on masks. And while we got a lot of negative comments at the beginning, I think that the rest of the country is seeing that our successes here were driven by the actions that we took back then. Also, I happened to be downtown when the trees were going in, probably as they had just started the work. And I was amazed at the size of the trees and how nice it looked. And I'm glad I wasn't there during the incident because I probably wouldn't have been as articulate in making my comments known about that type of activity. It's not warranted here in Nashua, not wanted here in Nashua. And I hope that everyone realizes that now.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Recognition period.
Recognition of Paul Gowell, the last original safe station driver.
I will move to accept, place on file, and recognize Paul Gowell. Mayor, do you have a reading for us? You're on mute, Mayor.
I think my understanding was that Alderman Lopez, who brought Mr. Gowell's good work to the fore, pointed out that he had been serving as a driver and working so hard during all of Safe Stations. I thought Alderman Lopez had the commendation.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Lopez.
Hello. So yeah, I actually did download it just in case, and I'd be happy to present it if it's okay for me to read it.
Yes, please.
In recognition, honoring Paul Gowell. Paul Gowell is a valuable member of the Nashua community. He is one of the original drivers for Nashua's Safe Stations program. When the program began, it was challenging to find people who would be willing to drive individuals who were in need of substance misuse treatment or medical attention from a fire station to a hold station. But Paul stepped up to the plate. When it came to transporting people, it never mattered to Paul who the person was or where they came from or what kind of help they were seeking. Paul treated them as if he'd known them his entire life. Paul is the person that any human services agency would want to be the face of their company. And whereas Paul and his wife Elizabeth have lived in Nashua for the past 8 years, Paul has worked in the facilities department at Harbor Homes for 6 of those years. He wants to help everyone, having spent thousands of hours just listening to people tell their stories. And whereas wherever Paul goes in Nashua, there is probably someone who knows him or someone he has helped. He will literally take the shirt off his back to help anyone, no questions asked. Paul makes people feel like they are the most important person in any room, and it's because of this that hundreds of individuals have kept on their road to recovery. And whereas these days, Paul works for the Mobile Crisis Response Team as a peer support professional. He's close to becoming licensed as a certified recovery support worker, CRSW. And now, therefore, this is from Mayor Donchis, Jim Donchis, Mayor of the City of Nashua, New Hampshire, do hereby recognize Paul Gowell for his good heart, passion for helping others, and important contributions to the city. I know Paul is down here too in the guest section. Thank you for your service, Paul, and this couldn't go to a better person.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Gowell, for your service to the community. Very much appreciated.
And the city clerk is working to make sure that the actual proclamation will be mailed to you, Paul, just so that you know.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Reading minutes of previous meetings. There being no objection, I will declare the minutes of the regular Board of Aldermen meeting of June 23rd, 2020, and the special Board of Aldermen meetings of June 24th and June 29th, 2020 be accepted, placed on file, and the reading suspended. Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
Communications been received from Donna Graham, Legislative Affairs Manager, regarding communications received from the public.
There being no objection, I will accept the communication and place them on file. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? I'll call again. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board? Okay. Communications requiring final approval.
Communications been received from Tim Cummings, Economic Development Director, regarding a contract for NAI Norwood to assist as necessary on a case-by-case basis with the advisory and procurement disposition of commercial real estate.
Alderman Lopez.
Sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to accept and place on file the communication that was previously read.
And do you want to award the contract as well?
Yep. Sorry, I'm on the wrong part of the script, but I would like to award the contract. I don't have that part of the script up yet, though. So if Madam President, if you want to just read where we're doing with this, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Alderman Lopez moves to accept, place on file, and award the professional services contract for various commercial real estate needs to NAI Norwood by roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Madam Chairman?
Sorry. Discussion.
Alderman Jettie.
Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, I would like to move that this be referred to the Finance Committee for review and a recommendation. And I'd like to speak on that.
Alderman Jettie.
So I think that I'm not sure, I'm sure Attorney Bolton will tell us. But normally when we have, this contract could certainly exceed the $25,000 that our ordinances require that the Finance Committee review. And I just think, whether it does or not, I think it just makes good sense for this contract to be reviewed by the Finance Committee and, and then, be able to make a recommendation to the full board. I don't know about the rest of you, but I saw this for the first time, I think on Friday. And, I would have expected that it would be referred to the Finance Committee so that they can, have a meeting and find out what it's all about and discuss it. I mean, I've read through it. Looks like a pretty, looks like a combination of our standard professional services contract and, and some provisions that are pretty common in commercial real estate. But I still think that, I don't want us as a Board of Aldermen to just be rubber stamps of things. I think it ought to go through the normal process through the committee.
Okay. Alderman Lopez.
I'd be happy to amend my motion to refer to the Finance Committee as recommended.
Okay, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Before we do any further amendments, since the issue was brought up, I always thought the Finance Committee, if there was changes, then they would be covered under a change order if they were to exceed the 25, the limit, the 25,000 by the Finance Committee. So I think an explanation by corporate counsel and to what Alderman Jettie has presented, what is the recommendation? When we can have corporate counsel answer Alderman Jettie's inquest.
Attorney Bolton.
Yeah, the compensation under this contract would be a percentage of the sales price of property we were selling or property that we were purchasing. So it doesn't have, it's not expressed in terms of dollar amounts. I certainly have no problem with having the Finance Committee take a look at it and make a recommendation to this board. I think there's nothing at all inappropriate about that.
Okay. So the motion is Alderman Lopez is to amend his motion and refer this to Finance. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Dowd.
Yes, I just want a question to go out to, and I'm not sure who could answer this, perhaps the mayor. Do we have any activities, without getting into specifics of contract action that we're going to take in the near term that would preclude this from going to Finance and not coming back to the full board until August, that would interfere with any sales or purchasing that we're going to be involved in the next month?
Mayor? You're on mute, Mayor.
I don't believe the delay would be too detrimental. The principal piece that we want to sell is 44 Broad Street, which is a parcel, a portion of a parcel that was taken for the Broad Street Parkway and now needs to be sold. The reason, I believe the reason it did not originally, wasn't directed to Finance originally is that all of the proceeds from this sale are going to go back to federal highway. So that whatever the commission is, the percentage, yes, comes off the sale price, but really reduces the net to federal highway and not to the city of Nashua. So the cost, it is once, and a sale has to be approved, it has to be approved by federal highway. But in the end, it's cost neutral to the city in the sense that the money, the proceeds do go back to federal highway.
Are you all set, Alderman Dowd? Okay, the motion is to refer this communication to the Finance Committee. Would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 1 nay.
And that communication is referred to the Finance Committee. Petitions.
Petition for street discontinuance, a portion of Palm.
Alderman Tenza.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to grant a petition for a street discontinuance, a portion of Palm Street, with the conditions added in the city engineer's April 22nd, 2020 plan markups, and granting the proposed 24 public and emergency access easement, Palm Street to Ash Street, to the city prior to, concurrent with, or as condition of the discontinuance by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. We've heard this in infrastructure, and I think when it was originally presented, there was a question by Dan Hudson, our city engineer, but with the principals involved and Maynard and Paquette, an agreement had been reached that seems to be accommodating both to the principals and to the city, and it's something that we like to see, and I think this will allow us access for snow removal and other different things that the city was concerned about. And so therefore I highly support this and recommend the board to do so. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion to grant the petition? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
We have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries.
Petition for street renumber assignment, sheet 103, lot 103, Almont Street.
Alderman Jettie.
I move to grant the petition for street number assignment, sheet 103, lot 103, Almont Street, and I'd like to speak to it.
Alderman Jettie.
So this is another situation which comes up fairly often where there's a vacant lot on Almont Street located between 28 Almont and 30 Almont. And the owner, who is the petitioner, wants to build a house there, but he needs a number. And the addressing committee has agreed to assign a number of 28 and a half to this vacant lot, and which will allow him to then build a building. It was reviewed by the planning board, and they approved it, and the infrastructure committee approved it as well. And I ask for your support.
Anyone else? The motion is to grant the petition for street number assignment. Any other discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Nominations, appointments, and elections.
There are none.
Reports of committees. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the June 24th, 2020 Committee on Infrastructure be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the June 29, 2020 Planning and Economic Development Committee accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the July 1st, 2020 Finance Committee accepted and placed on file. And there being no objection, I will declare the report of the July 8th, 2020 joint meeting with the Committee on Infrastructure and Planning and Economic Development Committee accepted and placed on file. Confirmation of mayor's appointments.
None.
Unfinished business resolutions.
There are none.
Unfinished business ordinances.
Second reading of ordinance O-2012, amending the zoning map by rezoning land off of Tinker Road from Royal Residence R40 to B Suburban Residence R18.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-20-012 by roll call.
The motion is for final passage. Is there discussion on that motion? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to reaffirm my concerns. They're not against the rezoning of this amendment, this ordinance. But however, like I said, we have a pending report from the fire department. This is a geographical area that's going to take a long time for fire apparatus to come to, and it's the area out past Tinker Road. So that's over what the fire department recommends as time limits. You've got to understand that we have not built a fire station in this city since the 70s. In the 70s, the population was 55,000, give or take some. In 2019, it's estimated 89,000. So when we get this report into the fire department, it is something that we need to look at, because as land gets built up and everything, thus increases the need. So I support this, but however, keep in mind, it's adding on to existing structures there, and our citizens do deserve the right to fire protection. Thank you.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes, I sort of agree that the study is now being revitalized and should be available soon. But I've talked to the fire department, and they feel that they can provide adequate coverage for the homes that they're, and thank goodness, because I live in that neighborhood. But there are a lot of houses there now. This is just a continuation of a street to add some more houses. But we had to change the zoning because since those other houses were built, they now have water and sewerage. So it went from an R40 to an R19.
Further discussion? Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Alderman O'Brien, what study is that you referred to? I wasn't familiar with it.
Well, I don't want to be snide in my remark, but which one? There was one actually done in the early 80s, and it was mentioned at a fire station pretty much down the street a bit on Thornton Road from where this development is, this land that we're basically talking about. That was not supported by the city 30 some odd years ago, actually 38 years ago. And that land is now the Tot Park that is down there. And if they made those recommendations back then 30 some odd years ago, I would probably guess they're going to be coming pending. I'm not trying to be Chicken Little in saying this, but it's something for us to, all I'm trying to do is to remind my fellow members of the board to keep it in mind. It's one of our infrastructures that I think that we need to address as we move on with this study in the future. There's been other reports over the years that have come out, and the city, I'm not going to say that they ignored them, but they did not act on them. And so this is a problem that is not going away, folks. And it's something that I would, again, my sole purpose is only to move it to the, not so much take it from the back burner and put it on the front. I'm trying to put it on the stove. That is something that we're going to need to possibly consider in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, that's all.
Anyone else? Seeing no one? The motion is for final passage of ordinance 2012. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Ordinance 20-12 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance O-2013, amending the zoning map by rezoning land off Amherst Street from Park Industrial PI to Park Industrial with mixed-use overlay district, PI-MU.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-20-013 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none? The motion is for final passage by roll call. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Ordinance 20-13 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of ordinance O-2021, authorizing a stop sign on Lee Street at its intersection with Forest Street.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for final passage of 020-021 by roll call and like to speak to it for a second.
Motion is for final passage. Alderman Dow.
Yes, this is a street that some people, when the pandemic started, we had a lot more people walking around and had rounded corners and was a pedestrian hazard without a stop sign. It was thoroughly reviewed by the DPW and the city engineer, and they recommended the stop sign be added.
Very good. Motion is for final passage of ordinance 2021. Alderman Lopez.
It is also my understanding that the stop sign may or may not already be there.
Yes, it is already there. They acted
very proactive,
very quickly. I think they felt there was that kind of danger that they wanted to make sure it was done.
Anyone else? The motion is for final passage. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
There we go. Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Ordinance 2021 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of amended ordinance 02023 relative to advertising signage on umbrellas, awnings, and canopies in connection with outdoor dining.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. I would move to amend ordinance 2023 by replacing it with the goldenrod copy provided with the agenda by roll call.
The motion is to amend ordinance 2023. Discussion on amending. Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
No.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. I would move for final passage of 02023 as amended by roll call.
Motion is for final passage as amended.
Excuse me, didn't we have a nay?
Yeah, it's 14-1, I think.
I'm sorry, did I say 14 to 0?
Yeah.
It was
Sorry, it
14
was.
to 1. Alderwoman Lou voted nay.
Nay.
My apologies. Thank you, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Motion is for final passage as amended. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none? Would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
No.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Linda, you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
You have 14 yeas and 1 nay.
That motion carries. Ordinance 20-23 is declared duly adopted. New business resolutions.
First reading of Resolution R 2052, relative to the acceptance of donated materials and services worth $16,650 from Edgestone Properties, Inc., to be used towards painting the exterior of the city-owned building at 57 Gilson Road.
Additional sponsors. Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Gathright, Alderman Clee, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Tenza, and myself. Anyone else?
Alderman Laws.
Alderman Laws.
Alderman Cleaver.
Okay, Alderman Cleaver. Given its first reading, that will be assigned to the Budget Review Committee.
First reading of Resolution R 2053, relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $27,000 from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation into Public Health and Community Services Grant Activity, Fiscal Year 21, NHCF, Substance Misuse Prevention.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Gathright, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Clee, Alderman Dowd, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Lopez, myself,
Laws.
Alderman.
Alderman Laws, Alderman Karen,
Alderman
Thank
Cleaver.
you.
and Alderman Cleaver. Given its first reading, that will be assigned to the Human Affairs Committee.
First reading of Resolution R 2054, authorizing the City of Nashua to execute a lease with Whiting Building LLC.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Clee.
Can I ask a question?
You can.
I just where's that? The Whiting Building?
I believe it's on Main Street.
The one right there, like between
The hospital.
Alice?
I believe it's right near the hospital.
Madam
No,
President, if I may.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. Its location is the yellow brick building on the corner of Franklin and Main Street. Direct diagonally across from Peddler's Daughter or Duchan's Oval across the street.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. I'll say yes.
Okay, and Alderman Harriet Gathright. Given its first reading, we'll assign that to the Finance Committee.
First reading of Resolution R 2055, relative to a ballot referendum concerning sports betting within the City of Nashua in connection with the state primary election.
Additional sponsors. Alderman Harriet Gathright, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Dowd. Who'd I miss?
Alderman Karen.
Alderman Karen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and myself.
Alderman Laws. Sorry.
And Alderman Laws.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion, Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Madam President. You do. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules for a second reading of R 20-055 by roll call.
The motion is to suspend the rules for a second reading. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you. I would just encourage the board to act quickly to move this forward so that we can get it on the ballot. We didn't do a very good job of presenting it last time, and that hurt businesses. Particularly, it hurt the river and it hurt Boston Billiards. So I would like to see this get reviewed by the public with a greater attention to it, especially considering all the impacts that COVID-19 have had on those businesses.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. Was this entered under suspension this evening?
That's what we're doing now.
Okay. Well, it's not on the original agenda, or did I just miss an updated agenda?
You must have missed it.
Okay, I would I would ask, I have not had a chance to look at this, and what is the urgency?
But it needs to get on the ballot for September.
Oh, it needs to get on the, could someone just give me a background, an update, some background on it, speak to it, please?
Attorney Bolton?
I can help if it's desired. The legislature just authorized this last week. I'm not even clear where it is on the governor having signed it or vetoed it yet. But if you don't act tonight, there's not enough time to get it on the ballot for September, given the other requirements. So basically, it's a function of how the legislative process worked up in Concord, that we didn't find out about it in a more timely fashion. Well, because the right to do it didn't exist 2 weeks ago. So that's where we are. That's why it's coming up quickly, and also why you have to act quickly if you want to take advantage of this new law.
Thank you. Just a follow-up?
Alderman Lou.
Thank you, because I haven't seen it. So this is just a vote on whether to place it on the ballot?
That's correct.
Referendum? Okay.
This initial vote is to suspend the rules, but yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, President Wilshire. This is the this was actually approved by the legislature, if I'm not mistaken, a year ago, and that the last time it went on the ballot, it wasn't the citizens did not understand what the ramifications were of this particular item, and that's why we're putting it on. I think just the Secretary of State is allowing it to go on the ballot again, and that's why we have to move it towards that way, so that we have the timely of getting it up there and so on. But this is not the first time that it's been on the ballot. We're putting it back on the ballot. The state is only allowing X number of license to the entire state. And they've already awarded, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they've already awarded some. And the longer we take, the less likely we are to get a license. And we are, as Alderman Lopez had pointed out, we are hurting those businesses like the River, as well as Boston Billiards and so on, which is where these places, which is where this activity would be taking place. So it is of imperative.
Attorney Bolton.
If I can clarify that.
Please.
Last year, this was on the municipal election ballot, pursuant to the law that existed at that time, which only allowed it to be placed on the municipal election ballot. On July 1st, the legislature passed this recent amendment that allowed it to be placed on the state primary, or allowed us to have a vote on it in connection with the state primary. That is what only passed a week and a half ago. And as I said, it's not even clear whether the governor has signed it or allowed it to go into law without his signature at this point. But we don't have an option of the November election. We don't have the option of any other election. We don't have an option of a special election. It's do this now for September, or wait another 14 months to November of next year.
Okay, the motion, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. If I may have your indulgence, I know this is a vote to suspend the rules, but it seems to be some questions. And thank you to both Alderman Representative Clee and to Corporate Counsel for clearing up what you say. Both are correct. But however, so that all the rest of the aldermen will know what this will basically do. Does this money go to charitable gaming? No, it won't. But the thing is, it's got to get more people into the door for these particular facilities. And when they come in to do the sports betting at these particular facilities, the customer may decide to play some of the games of chance that exist in these buildings. Let me remind you, the amount of money that is donated by both Boston Billiards and River Casino is phenomenal. It's money that we do not have enough of in our city coffers to help out a lot of the nonprofits. So if this enticed some people to come in down and put some money on the Bruins game, which I think they are going to win the Stanley Cup this year, but if they so, come down and take that game a chance, maybe they'll go and play a game of blackjack or something, which does contribute. So this does, and I want to get it out there to the public. It's indirect, but it does have a direct connection to the charities that exist in our community that will benefit from this. Monies that we and some that we cannot give them, and so therefore it is going to go to a good thing. Thank you, and thank you for your indulgence, Madam President.
You're welcome. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you. So first of all, I can't take Alderman O'Brien up on his bet because it's illegal. But this is activity that happens all the time that we would be tapping into and bringing a little more into conformity. As Alderman O'Brien says, it would be a boost to the businesses, which I'm sure will be implementing any social distancing practices and public health practices necessary. But this has also been a very bad year for sports, period. So unless people were betting on marbles, we basically got a second chance at this because it would have been helpful to have it reviewed and approved in our past election, but most of the attention was focused on our election process and that kind of stuff. So I got a lot of feedback from people saying they had no idea what it was for, and that it was literally just to authorize sports betting at a local gambling establishment.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Alderwoman Kelly.
Trying to unmute and lower my hand at the same time. So my question is just more, I guess semantics is the best word here. I wanted to know if there is a way for us to be able to review the language that'll go on the ballot, because I think a lot of times the language that's on the ballot is confusing to people. And I appreciate everybody who does all that hard work, but I think, a few more heads on that might help in some of these situations.
Attorney Bolton.
The language is dictated by the statute. We have no ability to change that.
Can I follow up, please?
Alderwoman Kelly.
Is there an opportunity for us to do like a summation sentence, or like you guys explain when you do a new ordinance, you have like a quick explainer? Is there a way to add that? Or because I feel like other communities have done that in the past.
I don't think we can put anything on the ballot that isn't authorized in the statute. We can do other information to voters and pamphlets and brochures, not to be brought into the polling place by us, but that kind of information distribution should be fine, but I would not feel comfortable in saying that it was legal to add anything on the ballot itself.
All set? Alderwoman Kelly?
I mean, I still have questions, but I don't know where to go from here. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Alderwoman Kelly brings up a point. In my conversation, I supported this bill when this was up at the State House and kind of helped walk it through some of the hallways up there. But at the same time, I've had conversation with the two principals in Nashua, that is the River Casino and Boston Billiards. And my recommendation to them, they seem to be in somewhat of agreement, and they have shown an interest to do a lot of the public relations themselves. Unfortunately, they did not do it the last time, but I think now they understand it, so that to give the people the facts and present them fairly, that the electorate can make the proper choice when they go to the polls. So regardless what the language basically say, they'll probably come out with something that would show for their particular point of view or support. Thank you.
Anyone else? The motion is to suspend the rules to allow for a second reading of Resolution 2055. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
You not hear me? Yes.
I did now, thank you. Alderman Cleaver,
Yes, and I should be on there as a sponsor, please.
thank you. Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Second reading of Resolution R 2055 relative to the ballot referendum concerning sports betting within the city of Nashua in connection with state primary election.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion for final passage of R-20-055 by roll call. May I speak to my motion?
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I think we've already hashed over this and when we went to suspend the rules and everything. But again, I just want to reiterate this, in my belief, my firm belief, that this will have a positive impact to many of the charities that are in this town. And I hope my fellow aldermen can support that in the name of the, to help out the different charities. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you very much. In addition to that, I was happy to sponsor this legislation. I sponsored it before, and I'm happy to do so again and glad to see it moving forward this evening because it's also a jobs bill. It's going to help keep those jobs at those casinos in Nashua, which are good paying jobs, and especially in these times, people need that. So I'm glad to see the support that it has here at the board. So thank you.
Anyone else? Motion is for final passage of Resolution 2055. Would the clerk please call the roll? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the fact that all we're doing here is we're voting to put this question on the ballot. I don't know how I will vote when it appears on the ballot, and I think that it's up to the people who are in favor of it and the people who are against to make their arguments to the voters. And I think that we as aldermen can express our own personal opinions, but as a board and by this vote, we're not voting to do this. We're just voting to put it on the ballot and letting the people express their opinion as to whether they think this should be done or not. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? The motion is for final passage, Resolution 2055. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Resolution 2055 is declared duly adopted. New business ordinances.
First reading of ordinance O 2024, removing authorization for right turn only lane on Pine Hill Road at its intersection with Sharon Avenue.
Additional sponsors?
Oh, I'm already there.
Schmidt, Alderman Clee, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Lopez, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Dowd. Okay, given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of ordinance O 2025, relative to maximum vacation accruals for unaffiliated employees.
Alderman Karen.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for a second reading of O-20-025 by roll call.
The motion is to suspend the rules to allow for a second reading. Alderman Karen, did you want to address that?
Yes, thank you. As the board knows, we had several ordinances put in to help other personnel within the city because of this pandemic, so that they did not lose any of their vacation time. So I did check with the mayor and Director Kleiner, and they reviewed the employees, and there's less than 20 of them. But if we don't put this in, many of them who are already at max would start losing at least 2 weeks of their vacation. So this gives the mayor the authorization to expand that maximum amount so that these employees will have a chance to utilize their vacation, which is due to them. And I appreciate all the help that Director Kleiner and the mayor gave to put this together.
The motion is to suspend the rules. Is there discussion on that? Alderman Clemmons.
I just want to be added as a co-sponsor, please.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was trying to point out as well, Lori.
Okay.
I'd like to be a
Same
sponsor as
here.
well.
Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Clay, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Harry Gathright, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Lopez. Sorry, Madam Clerk. I know that was a little out of control. Okay.
Thank you.
The motion is to suspend the rules by roll call. Seeing any further discussion on that? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries.
Second reading of ordinance O 2025, relative to maximum vacation accruals for unaffiliated employees.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of 0-20-025 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage by roll call. Any discussion on the motion for final passage? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries and ordinance 2025 is declared duly adopted.
First reading of ordinance 02026, removing handicapped parking spaces in front of 3 Beacon Court and 9 and 11 Mount Pleasant Street.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Dowd, Alderman O'Brien. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of ordinance 02027, authorizing a left turn only lane at the intersection of West Pearl Street and Elm Street.
Additional sponsors?
Can I ask a question at this point?
Sure.
I'm just trying to picture where that is. So if you're on Elm Street, like going to, say, leaving City Hall, going towards Elm Street School. So is it that intersection with West Pearl? No, West Pearl's
No.
the other way, right?
It doesn't meet West Pearl way down there.
All right, so this is the one that goes past City Hall in the opposite direction,
No,
going north, correct?
no, it's by Courthouse Pizza,
Courthouse Pizza. All right.
right?
so-
Barbecue, right before you go into the big circle thingy.
Okay, but is that large enough to get a second lane?
Yeah, well, so DPW proposed this and they did a sketch out, but that's what we would talk about when it goes to committee.
Okay, just curious.
I can send you what they sent me though.
All right, thank you.
Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure. There being no objection, I'll suspend the rules to allow for the introduction of ordinance 2028 that was received after the agenda was prepared.
First reading of ordinance 02028, allowing additional ballot inspectors.
Alderman Clay.
Thank you, President Wilshire. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for a second reading of O-20-028 by roll call, please.
Okay, motion is to suspend the rules to allow for a second reading. Obviously, this is going to be a time-sensitive matter. We can't send it to committee and get people hired in time to work the polls. They need extra people at the polls. That's what the clerk is predicting, and that I think it's important that we help the clerk get more people in there to get through these elections. So that's the motion is to allow for a second reading. Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. Is this because we're expecting a lot more paper ballots? Okay.
I would have to defer to the clerk.
We are expecting many more paper ballots, but we also have many obstacles with establishing safer polling locations, with maintaining social distancing and line management, and just everything that's all going on right now. We're trying to move the lines as quickly as possible, but keeping everybody safe. And yes, we do expect a lot of processing of paper ballots as well.
Thank you. Alderman Clemmons. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. I fully support this. We've seen across the country where, there have been horrendous lines and things like that. We've also seen situations like this happen in our own backyard up in Merrimack, New Hampshire. I think it was during the 2016 election. Some people didn't even get to vote. We don't want that to happen here in Nashua, and we pride ourselves on holding the most, in my opinion, the best and the most accessible, polling places in America, really. I think, and we do an excellent job. And we've had clerks that understand that this is one of the most important and sacred rights that we have. So being able to have the proper amount of people to do the job, and also to make sure that there aren't lines where people are wrapped around buildings, I think is very important. It's worth every penny. So let's do the right thing and get this done tonight. Thank you. And I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Anyone else co-sponsor? Alderman Clee, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Cleaver, Alderman O'Brien.
Alderman Karen.
Alderman
Alderman
Karen,
Karen.
Alderman Lopez, Alderwoman Kelly.
Laws.
Laws, okay. So Alderman Clee.
This vote here is just for the suspending of the rules, and the next vote we'll be doing will be to adopt it. So I had my hand raised up and I didn't want to confuse things, but I'll speak to it after we vote on suspension. Thank you.
Anyone else on the suspension? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes. Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries.
Second reading of Resolution O-2028, allowing additional ballot inspectors.
Alderman Clee.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O20-028 by roll call, and may I make a comment, please?
You may.
Thank you. The comment that I want to make is that I've spoken to many clerks and so on throughout the state, as well as actually through a number of different states. And everybody is anxious about the paper ballots, the absentee, the mail-in, whatever you want to call them, as well as the social distancing and the need for more lines to move people through, as well as a number of other things. And as Alderman Clement had pointed out, I think this is extraordinarily important. I'm glad we suspended the rules. I'm glad that we'll be voting on it tonight. And I think the sooner we can move this forward will help our city clerk, who is doing a phenomenal job. So thank you.
Okay, the motion is for final passage of ordinance 2028. Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think this is extremely important, both as a public safety measure. We need people to be coming in to vote and being able to leave quickly. And so we're going to need a larger capacity of people to help them do that. We're also going to need to make sure this is extremely accurate and that this is a slam dunk election where there's no concerns or anxieties by the voters. We've had enough areas of stress with regards to elections and COVID-19 and all this kind of stuff. We've seen it around the other country or the rest of the country. So we need to make sure that we are adequately prepared for this. So I support this entirely. I think it's very important both to do it safe and to do it accurate.
Okay, motion is for final passage. Or further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Ordinance 2028 is declared duly adopted. Period for public comment. Do we have anyone that wants to give public comment?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. It's Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street.
Okay.
I want to thank the board for allowing public comment to be available to us through the Zoom meeting. It's very much appreciated. A couple of items. I listened to the communication or the meeting on the assessing update. Tomorrow night in the Finance Committee, a consulting contract is going to be brought forth for Rex Norman to serve as a supervisor consultant to the assessing department. I would like questions asked because this gentleman is the full-time community development director for Wyndham, and I would like to understand what that consulting contract is for, how much influence he will have on the work of the assessors or doing oversight during the day if he in fact is still the full-time community development director in Wyndham. And I just want you to make you apprised of that is something I'm interested in understanding. With regard to transparency in the office and customer service, I'm really concerned about that. And I feel that there's a disconnect between the city leadership and management and public perception and reality on what transparency is and what customer service is. You know, first of all, the Board of Assessors has not allowed public input, either through email or through any kind of verbal communication. And that has been a real concern of mine. There have been no communications submitted to the Board of Assessors as public comment. I tried to, and they didn't accept them. And I don't do that any longer. And when the day comes that they're willing to bring it back, that would be great. But that's a transparency issue for me. I also find that access to records has just been so shut down to the public, it's ridiculous. The redacting policy or the redacting practices that are happening for assessing records make no sense to me. You know, everything is shuttled up to legal so that phone numbers and emails can be taken off because they're considered confidential information. But in fact, when I go down to building permits or I ask for a file to be scanned out of building permits, they scan the file, they send it to me, it's got emails, it's got private phone numbers, and nothing is redacted. You know, your Board of Aldermen meetings have only been accepting public comment when people email them in, but none of the people's email addresses are being redacted to preserve their confidentiality. They're all out for the public to have. And yet an application that's part of a public document in assessing with an email address is running up to legal to be redacted. And the city is complaining, and Ms. Leonard is writing letters on the extraordinary costs associated with them doing that. Why are we doing it then? If the building department doesn't do it, if the Board of Aldermen don't do it, if I can't find other departments are doing it, my belief is it's happening in legal because somebody said, slow the public down that's looking at information, and we do not want them to get that information as quickly. So let's ram everything up to legal. And it's not just happening because I have litigation going. It's happening to other people that have no litigation going. I really don't understand that. And so that's not transparency. I should be able to get property record files when I walk into assessing. And today when I called to get an appointment, I was told that it can only be 15 minutes. And I asked if anyone had signed up on Thursday. The answer was no. I said, I'd like to do some research. I haven't been in the office in 4 months. Could I have 2 slots? No. No, you can't. You get 1 15-minute slot. And if you can't get it done, oh, well. And I said, well, can you schedule me an hour later so I can come back? Nope. Nope. We do 15 minutes. Why? If nobody's coming into assessing on Thursday and there were only 3 people who came in and somebody came in for a half hour, is that really a problem? I don't really understand that. Also, these new property record cards that Ms. Kleiner identified that are being put together in a format that would be easier for the public to access, I'd love to know what that looks like from a transparency standpoint. They claim they're going to take off data that isn't used by the assessors and unnecessary for the public to see. I agree some of that data exists on the cards, but I can tell you I'm also concerned that they're going to take off data that is valuable for the public to see.
Ms.
And if
Ortolano, you
say
have
to me,
1 minute.
Why? What's the time limit?
5 minutes.
Okay. It's supposed to be a period of 15 minutes for public comment, and you haven't done it in a while. So, you don't, are there other people in line?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So anyway, this format for the property record cards would be nice for the public to be able to see that and not just have it come out. And if you don't like it, too bad. Your public comment ordinance that you're working on and the one that the Board of Assessors is working on with the bylaws, I believe is illegal. And I think you should be very careful about adopting that. I got a legal briefing that was generated by Steve Bennett, where he was addressing the board about a dozen years ago regarding closing the public down on speaking about personnel matters and about trying to define the tone of what they can say, repetition, redundancy. And he wrote up a very detailed briefing with case studies on why that's illegal and should not be done. And I know your board and the Board of Assessors have both come after me for addressing personnel matters and telling me I can't do it or I shouldn't do it or it's offensive, when in fact it's perfectly legal for the public to do that. And I think niceness ordinances aren't good in public input. I think telling somebody not to repeat themselves is not right in public input and could be challenged. I think writing a public input policy that is as long as yours is ridiculous. You should look at the Assessing Standards Board public input policy. It's basically one sentence. And I think it would be good for you to do that. I want to thank Alderman Jettie for making the motion to push an issue into the Finance Committee so that you're not just serving as a rubber stamp. I want to thank Alderman Blue for asking the question on how complaints are being tracked and hearing that there is no system in line, that basically there are no complaints. I find that absurd. And I find that just to be another example of where the voice of, even if it's a few, don't really matter when we have a complaint. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none. Attorney Bolton.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me state unequivocally that nothing we do in the legal department is for the purpose of delaying anyone. Violation of my oath as an attorney to purposely delay legal process out of malice. I don't do that. I won't do that. I would resign this position before I would do that. It is not happening. It is vile to suggest that it's happening. We follow the law to the best of our ability. That's what we do.
Thank you, Attorney Bolton. Anyone else? Okay, remarks by members of the board. Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. So the person in the public comment made a good point about perhaps tracking the complaints that come in. I actually would be interested in that list because I'm pretty sure that while there may be a lengthy complaint list, I have a feeling that the names that are on the list I can count with just my one hand. So it would be interesting to see that. The other thing that I want to say is that through all my tenure here on the Board of Aldermen, you know, we've had several different corporation councils. All of them have acted in great stead with the law. They've always acted above board. I've never seen anything be done underhanded. And, you know, I certainly think that that's the case still today. So I support them as well, 100%, as well as Kim Kleiner, who I think does a tremendous job, did a tremendous job this evening, showing us the updates and things like that the assessing department has accomplished. And I think that she is second to none when it comes to transparency. So some of the things that were said earlier this evening are completely unfounded. And I wanted my opinion of that on the record. Thank you.
Alderman Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to echo the words of Alderman Clemens as far as Ms. Kleiner is concerned, and the city attorneys. Addressing Ms. Kleiner, I think she is extremely transparent. I think that she's put up with a lot, from being called a liar to various other things, and I think that's shameful. Putting all that aside, I think Ms. Kleiner's presentation earlier today was very transparent. I think it was very good. She admitted to areas that needed to be fixed, and is working towards that way. I think every time there's been something that's been brought to her attention, she has handled it, and she's handled it exemplary. I'd also like to make comment about the ballot inspectors. One of the other things that I had wanted to mention about the ballot inspectors is, because of COVID and so on, I think it's even more important to have these so that our ballot inspectors can have a little bit of a break. My husband played inspector at the last election. He won't be at this one, but he was at the last one for the primary. And it's a very long day for those people, very, very long day. And the more that they have, the more breaks they can take, the more space that they can have, and so on. So I'm really glad that we pushed this through and we got it through as quickly as possible. And to the to the family of, and I'm sorry, all of a sudden I'm blanking on his name, but the young man who had passed away through drowning, I really want to give my condolences. As it was said, this is a horrible thing to have happened during any time. No parent should ever lose their child. So my heart goes out to them.
Alderman Lopez.
Hey, T, is it okay if I unmute? Okay, good. I also want to express my condolences to the family of Shea Patnode, and also to other families that have lost children. We've lost a number of teenagers over the last couple of weeks. And because of the distancing required by COVID-19 and, all of the things that we've been going through, there isn't as much ability to grieve or to mourn. So I just want to remind the national public that this is not over. This pandemic is more than just news media articles, and it's more than just full ICU beds. This is a problem that we're all facing together, and it's really important to reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends, your family, reach out for the support you need and offer it to other people too, because it's a very difficult time. People are suffering and they have less ways to make their voices heard with that suffering. It's also very important to continue wearing masks. I want to thank Lata Manjapudi and her masketeers, Padma, for continuing to provide me with masks. I've still been handing them out to people in the community that are in need of them, people in restaurants that are in need of them. Just because people are back at work again doesn't mean they have unlimited resources. It doesn't mean that you can get, protective gear as soon as you need it. And a lot of the earlier gear has kind of been worn out, like the initial costs we've had. So there's still a huge need for that. There's still volunteers that are working with it. And I want to thank everybody who's continuing to wear a mask, even if they're uncomfortable, in order to protect and look out for other people. Thank you.
Alderman Lou.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to send my condolences to the family of Paula Moquin Burpee, who passed away in June. Paula grew up in Nashua. She was a neighbor. She was a Ward 6 resident. She was the daughter of Ed and Dorothy Moquin, and she was a friend of our family as well. I want to express my condolences to her sister Marianne and her children Adam and Sarah and their spouses.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. I wanted to start by offering my condolences as well to the to the parents of Shea Patno. I saw the fire trucks race by and was hoping for a better outcome, so I feel for them greatly right now. I also wanted to highlight and thank the school board and the reopening task force for the hard work that they're doing right now to look at what our scenario here in Nashua will be for opening the schools. It's a hot topic right now, and I know they're doing the hard work to make sure that everybody's going to be safe, and that teachers in this city feel that they're valued as well, because they do incredible work. So it's not an easy task. So I just wanted to say thank you. And then I left my comments to the end here on the incident down on Main Street. It's been an especially hard time for everybody right now, especially feeling it as people of color. And that was a really hard video to watch. But I was definitely, it was nice to see our city come forward and say this doesn't happen here and we won't stand for it. I spoke to George Russell this morning, and he said people need to stop thanking me for doing it. It was the right thing to do, and I really appreciated that stand. So I'm incredibly grateful for everyone who stepped up and took our calls, and for all the constituents who went out and said this is not okay.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, just a very, very quick update on the middle school project, because not everyone's up to date on it. We have a full construction crew at Fairgrounds Middle School. That is proceeding along to do everything we need to do this summer. You'll see more and more construction going on, especially in the front of the school where the new security aspect of the project is being done. At Pennachuck Middle School, we have Eversource has moved the pole, and the wires have been rerun from the Henry Burke to the school for video and telephone and everything else. That had to be done before actual construction started. And the security of that school, the front of that school, will also be being done this summer, so that the security entrance will be ready for the fall. And so things are proceeding along very well, and just wanted to give you a quick update.
Anyone else? Alderman O'Brien?
Madam President?
Right after Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Karen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to express my condolences to the family and friends of Sean Patino, a young man, a very tragic loss to our community. I too, like the mayor, has seen the memorial down in Shady Lane that was constructed to him. Although I did not know him personally, I'm sure he would be very much sadly missed by his family and friends. But I would also like to mention the other half. Even though the accident and this tragedy occurred in another state and another community, it was the National Fire Rescue Dive Team that responded and recovered Mr. Patino to be able to be brought home to be properly mourned by his family and friends as by their traditions. As a former fire chief in charge of the dive team, I completely understand and know of the conditions that they responded to such a tragedy at. I understand when you're going down into the water, the unknown and the murkiness, and yet they did their duty and were able to bring Mr. Patino home to his family. So therefore, it's a tragic loss, but I would like to inform the Alderman that we should recognize National Fire Rescue for their efforts in trying to mitigate somewhat of this tragedy and at least to do something for the family. Thank you.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be real quick. First of all, I'd like to thank our fellow board members for approving the extension for vacation time for unaffiliated employees. I know that they'll appreciate it greatly. Many of them have been working long hours, even at home and coming into the office, and we certainly don't want them to lose out on anything. And secondly, I would like to thank Bobby Bagley, the Director of Public Health, again, for taking the time to bring her staff to the National Senior Center to do a walkthrough with the group to make sure we had everything in place so that we can get the center up and running. And my understanding was that the center had quite a bit of things already in place, and there were a few suggestions which they're going to take care of this week. And just for everyone to know, especially Alderman Dowd, that the center will be opening up 2 weeks from yesterday. So we are anxious to have our seniors back and to be able to do some of the activities with social distancing, but at least to get there and talk to their fellow members. So again, thank you to Public Health for all they did for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alderman Jettie.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to acknowledge Alderman Lopez. You know, he, this past 4th of July for the, I think, 7th year in a row, it may be more, he organized a celebration of Independence Day for the veterans at Delena's house. And, you know, I'm surprised he had the time, because judging by all the books in his background, yeah, I'm surprised he has time to do anything other than read those books. But he was kind enough to invite me to participate in this year's celebration, you know, as an Army veteran from the Vietnam era. He invited me to make some remarks to my fellow veterans, and I appreciated that. And I wanted to thank Attorney Bolton. You know, when we passed the mask ordinance, we did so at the request of the Board of Health, our Department of Health. And all of this information about the mask, you know, the conflicting information that people are exposed to, you know, our Board of Health, which I want to remind the public, you know, are very qualified people. They're medical doctors. There's a pulmonologist, an infectious disease specialist, an epidemiologist, and Director Bagley is a doctor of public health. So these are people who are much better equipped to analyze all of the information regarding the safety of our public, and we relied upon their advice. And at that meeting, I remember asking Attorney Bolton about all of the objections that we were receiving from the public about how it wasn't, you know, whether, you know, was this legal for us to do? And I remember he gave a very long and well-reasoned explanation as to yes, it is very much within our authority to do that. And when I read the decision by Judge Colburn, it's as though she copied exactly what Attorney Bolton told us. So he was right on. The advice we got from the Public Health Department and the advice we got from our city attorney was right on. And thank you both to the Public Health Department and the legal department. Thank you.
Alderman Cleaver.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Just very briefly regarding the unfortunate events of downtown, the racist rant or whatever you want to call it. I strongly support WSMN, and I hope other people do too, with messages of support, but also to Morin's Landscaping and their employees. I strongly suggest that everybody give them a call and say how much they're appreciated and how unfortunate the community believes it was. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I just had a couple things. I wanted to also acknowledge my condolences to the Patno and Mogren families. Although the Patno young man was much younger, it's still tough. I mean, it's really tough to lose a family member. And to the Mogren family, my condolences. I have to also thank Latha Manjaputi and Padma Kunapareddy for continuing to make the masks. I think they just continue to be shining stars in our community. And I'm also very proud of our city for the reaction to the incident on Main Street. people stepped up, they did the right thing, and we're all proud of, I think we're all proud of everyone who was involved that stepped in and stepped up and did the right thing. Really proud of everyone in this city. Also, I just wanted to mention that I believe in my 21 years on the Board of Aldermen that our city's legal team is one of the best. They're just wonderful. And we've always had a wonderful legal team. But right now, I think, we have a really, really good legal team. I mean, led by Attorney Bolton, but Attorney Clark and Attorney Leonard, very, very capable, very responsive. Well done, Attorney Bolton, and your selection of good people. Committee announcements. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Just, Madam President, just to remind everybody, on Wednesday, July 22nd at 7 p.m. via friendly format Zoom, there will be a Committee of Infrastructure meeting. Everybody's welcome to join us. They're lots of fun. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Dowd.
Yes, on Thursday, the 23rd at 7 p.m., we'll have a Zoom meeting of the Joint Special School Building Committee.
Alderman Tenza.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to let the members of PEDC know, we are scheduled for a meeting for later this month. I believe it's July 28th, but that will be canceled. So we'll meet next month if necessary.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay, Alderman O'Brien, do I have a motion?
Yes, you do, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that the July 14, 2020 meeting of the Board of Aldermen be adjourned by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderman Woman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Tenza,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 15 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries, and we are adjourned at 10:02 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.